On this Martin Luther King Day, we're taking a look at the push to revitalize a black community in Florida. In the 1950s, Overtown in Miami was known as the Harlem of the South. But the neighborhood was gutted when the interstate highway came to town, pushing out half the population in just 10 years. Now, the community is working on a new green space they hope could begin to heal Overtown. Guad Venegas has the story.
When Bay Heights was 6, she swung from the branches of this banyan tree. She was surrounded by the vibrant center of Overtown, Miami.
Nobody locked their doors. We slept all night with our front doors open.
Those Overtown memories the 84-year-old historian and writer grew up with are now a rarity. A predominantly black community known as the Harlem of the South that had a bustling downtown and nightlife rapidly became a ghost town, largely because of a highway project. In 1955, President Eisenhower signed the Federal Aid Highway Act. The legislation would clear the way for the government to seize private property for public works projects.
Around about 58, when they were getting ready to do the expressway, some people already saw the handwriting on the wall and they started moving out. It was very bad. I don't know how else to tell you except that it was very bad.
During the 1960s, Overtown lost more than half its population and a third of its businesses. Overtown was sacrificed for what the government determined was necessary progress. Decades later, an expansion to the highway that still looms above the neighborhood brings new hope to this historical part of town.
So there's a lot kind of going on to explore.
Jessica Goldman-Strepnick and Trina Harris are part of the Underdecks Executive Committee. This group is working to create a green space under the construction of the new I-395, a $53 million investment to build the new urban landscape.
It's going to be light, it's going to be airy, it's going to be full of landscaping and trees and green, lots of green. You're going to have bike trails, you're going to have walking trails, you're going to have art and culture.
A new use for an area overlooked for decades.
I've experienced some pain walking under the underpath when it was dark, gloomy, and walking as a child. Our committee is working extremely hard to prevent negative experiences that have happened in this community under these underpaths.
If approved, funding from the federal government could secure half the money needed. It would come from a $1 billion grant allocating funds to projects that reconnect communities torn apart by past federal infrastructure across the country. Derek Fleming co-owns the Red Rooster restaurant, which has been working hard to revitalize the rich history of the 1940s and 1950s.
There was a time where people would flock here. They had to get to Overtown, particularly for a nightlife, but then we were cut off. And so this is an opportunity to reconnect, to not just allow folks to flow out, but folks to flow in a very holistic way.
A new hope and a bright future for Overtown, no longer overlooked.
Guad Venegas is joining us now. So, Guad, you're talking with a lot of people about the project. How are they feeling about it? How are they feeling about what's going to happen down the road?
Well, Hallie, people here are excited for any type of progress that will revitalize the community. It's been years since private businesses and the city of Miami have tried changing things here in Overtown. Now, the committee has met with members of the community to get their feedback. All of that went into a 400-page report that was turned into the city of Miami. They will now vote on it as they move forward with this project. They have to secure the funding, and obviously they're also waiting for that federal funding to make this possible. They have some time because the highway expansion is still underway, so they would wait for that to be finished to finally begin with the construction of this green space. Hallie.
Guad Venegas, thank you very much for that reporting and for bringing us that important story.
Thanks for watching our YouTube channel. Follow today's top stories and breaking news by downloading the NBC News app.